Well, hi folks. Monday night, that would be November the 26th, 2018. The channel guest on Monday Night Live will be Timber Creek Farm. Well, her YouTube presence is relatively small. Her media presence is quite large. I can't even possibly cover it all here, and the person behind this is Janet Garman. So let's first talk just a little bit about their website. So the name of the website is timbercreekfarmer.com, and when you get there, here's what Janet has to say. If you're looking for encouragement while starting your homesteading journey, you have come to the right place. Our family farm is our homestead, where we raise vegetables for our table and raise animals for fiber, eggs, meat, and companionship. Wasting less and being more self-sufficient is our ongoing goal. Let me tell you a little bit more about Janet. She raises chickens and many other farm animals on their family homestead in Maryland. She and her husband have raised their family and grown their farm while running a family business, being a farm store owner, and teaching chicken care classes in the community. Janet holds a degree in animal science, concentrating on farm animal management, and after having spent time working as a paralegal and retail store owner. Janet is also a writer, or blogger as some would say it, and in addition to the blog on her website, she writes posts for some digital publications such as Backyard Poultry Magazine, Countryside Magazine, Self-Reliant School, From Scratch Magazine, and more. And of course she also has Facebook, Twitter, has a store on Etsy as well as the store on their website. The online presence goes on. I'm sure I have left places out. Oh yeah, don't let me forget, she's also an author and has written numerous books. They can be found on Amazon, on Etsy, in the store on their website, maybe Facebook, other places. We might even have a couple to give away Monday night. So don't forget, the stream starts at 8:57. The show starts at 9 o'clock. All those times are Eastern. We sure look forward to seeing you here. Take care, folks. Have a great day.
Hey, guys. See, I already knew when it was going. I was doing the countdown. Glad to have you all here. There's 22 watching. I hope we're going to have everybody talking and chatting and calling in when we do our call-in at 9:30. We are giving away 3 books tonight. I wrote them all. No, I didn't. Didn't write one of them. We have Chickens from Scratch. Yes, Chickens from Scratch. Janet Garman wrote that. I know the lady. 50 do-it-yourself projects. Keeping chickens. She wrote that one too. And Margarita and the Beautiful Girls. This is a cute little girl's book, or a boy's book if they want to read it. Very nice. What's the word I want? Presentation, the pictures, everything is just, it's just cute. Just really well done. So those are 3 giveaways tonight. Biddy Boo Brown, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. Where have you been hiding? Hey Stelka, how you doing, sweetheart? So, Evening Serenity Mountain Homestead. And I suppose it's 9:02. Well, see Serenity, it's on your wish list. You know, if you get the right answer, you just may get it sent in the mail to you. I suppose you think it's about time to grab Janet and bring her out?
If you think so.
Well, sure. Sure.
All right, here we go.
There she is, folks.
Hello. How's everybody?
We're doing just fine. And yourself?
Good. I'm good.
And you're not hearing anything?
No.
But you were.
No,
Why didn't you tell me that before?
I did.
Well, just kind
You
of.
keep on talking, Janet.
You just kind of.
Okay. Well, I can hear both of you. So if that
There you
helps.
go. There we go.
You got it now?
We got it now. Yes, now I can hear her. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Keep me in the dark like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, well, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, that's true. We did talk about this for a
Yeah.
while.
Well, at this last October, we finally got you pinned down, and you didn't have a choice.
Right. Well, I didn't mind a bit. So.
Well, that's cool. I'm so glad. We got a lot of your friends and fiends and followers in here. So I think it's great.
Good.
So,
I heard some of them were going to show up. So.
Yeah, if you have questions, put them all in caps, please. If we don't catch them, our moderators will. Now, even though Mudge has a wrench, we really don't give him those, liberties of being a moderator. But Bandana Grandma is, and Bandana Grandma. Oh, and there's Country Girls, and Bandana Grandma was a roomie of Janet's last month at the HOA.
That's right. We had a good time in that house.
Yeah. So
Lots of coffee.
yeah, there was lots of coffee at our place too. I mean, between you and Brenda, and I think Mark. Mark drank quite a bit of the coffee also. So if anybody wants to start out with some questions, feel free.
We definitely have to work on more coffee being available at the conference itself.
Oh, yeah.
That's a definite highlight that we're working on for next year.
Farm on Quail Hollows asking what's your favorite book that you wrote so far?
Oh, I think the children's book is really close to my heart, Kaylee, because it happened here on our farm, and it's fiction, but it actually was inspired by a true story that happened here. So, and a friend of mine illustrated it. So, and she's an actual artist too. So, I have to give a shout out to Jackie for the wonderful illustrations in that book. We worked together on it. So it's pretty special to me because of all of that. But every book, when it's finally ready to be published, is really special to me.
did you just start writing books on a whim at one time, or what got you started in doing this?
Well, it kind of goes back to when I was working in the feed store that we owned for a few years. We sold chicks in the spring, and everyone would come in and ask pretty much the same questions, which was normal. I mean, everybody wanted to know how to get started raising chickens, what did they need, and what kind of things did they have to look out for. And I just thought it would be really nice if we had something that we could have at the counter that we could just hand to people, when they bought chicks. And so the first book that I published was The Chickens from Scratch, and it's a basic primer on getting started. And the reason that I wrote it was because of customers asking the same questions year after year. And I just thought, not in like a way to be dismissive, but just a way to make sure they could take something home with them that would answer their questions and they could refer back to it. Just simple things like, what do I feed them? How much water are they going to need? Do I have to feed them all day? Do they have to have food all the time? What do I use for litter? Should I use shavings or newspaper? Questions like that were very common, and you heard them repeated all day long.
Now,
So, thought that would be helpful.
now you have a degree in large animal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
actually,
not sure that chicken fits that role, does it?
no, it does not. In fact, when I was in college and we had to do a little bit of work with every species, they took us to the Eastern Shore poultry houses, and I said I would never, ever raise chickens because that was big commercial poultry operations. Nobody was raising backyard chickens when I was in college. It just wasn't done. Maybe if you were in a small farm setting, but it wasn't the trend like it has been in the last 10 years. And so I just said I will never raise chickens ever because I thought they were the grossest thing. And well, we have 6 coops now. So we're raising a few chickens.
And I'm sure numbers vary from time to time here, but about how many, what do they call them? How many is in your flock, or how many is in your, what do they call them? Herds?
No.
Yeah,
Chickens,
we have
chickens are
a
herds.
flock of approximately 60, but who's counting? So yeah. What I saw something recently that said, it was referring to goats. It said, "How many goats do you have?" And the other person said, "Let's just say I have goats." So I thought that's a good answer.
That would be Rose.
I have chickens.
That would be Rose.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. We have goats too, but not as many as we have chickens. So,
Rosalie Yoder here is asking, how did you get started writing your books and getting them published?
yeah, that's an excellent question, Rosalie. The first book I wrote, I actually self-published it through a small publishing house where you send them the manuscript and they format it for you, and it comes back as a book. So it costs a little bit. It's easier. You have more control over it. You know, your finished product is whatever you make it and whatever you want it to be. So you don't have to worry about, you know, an editor who maybe has a different idea for the book than you want to come up with. But it does cost a little bit of money, and I had saved that up. So, you know, I'm not going to say that's the answer for everyone.
Was there a certain program that you used to do your books
nope,
with?
I just did it in Word.
In Word?
Yeah, it was just a document with photos, and I just sent it in and said, you know, where I wanted the photos to be placed, and you have the finished product in your hand. It was fun, and I learned a lot. I think that, you know, even the self-publishing industry has come a long way, even in the last 5 years, as far as like a product that you can be proud of and a really, you know, a nice looking book at the end. And then when Jackie and I did Margarita and the Beautiful Gifts, we self-published that also, but we didn't go through a publishing house. We went to a printer, and we just had the printer types set it up for us. And we had also released it through CreateSpace on Amazon. So we have both a hardcover and a softcover edition, but Amazon only does softcover. So we then took it to a printer and had a hardcover version done, which is sold to like gift shops and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of nice. And I guess I'm pretty sure Skyhorse probably found out about me, because that's my last 2 books have been published through Skyhorse Press. And I think because I write for so many magazines now, I guess they must have somehow found my name. So I guess that's, you know, that's another avenue that you could pursue. It's nice to be able to say, you know, this publication, you know, thinks enough of my writing that they put me in their magazines. So it's kind of a nice thing to have on your resume, that, you know, you're writing for some other publications besides your own website.
I have typed up a family cookbook years ago, and I have slowly added to it, especially with my mother's recipe. I have 3 recipe boxes here plus cookbooks of hers, but have no idea where to go from there.
Yeah.
So I pick a lot of brains.
No, I'm sure it's got lots of great things in it, and I would encourage you to, you know, look into different ways to at least preserve that for your family, if it doesn't even go any further than that.
Yeah.
Because that's like such a keepsake to have that in a good sturdy form that people can,
that's true,
you know, carry and pass on.
Well, and Rosalie is asking, can you share the self-publisher, and how many is the minimum amount of books do you have to publish?
hmm I think I would. Well, my first book was through Author House Publishing, but I would really, nothing against them, but I would really recommend that your money is better spent just going through the Amazon program with, I think it's changed its name now to Kindle Direct Publishing. You should be able to find that on the Amazon website. It's going to save you a lot of money, and you'll still have a good product. You know, having done both the Amazon publishing and the publishing, self-publishing house, I would say save your money and go with the whatever it is that's replaced Create-Space.
I never even knew that Amazon did that stuff, so that's a good hint right there. I'll check into that. And I think Rosalie's
definitely
going to also, yeah.
And another thing is I encourage people to write. I just say, I mean, it sounds so kind of trite, but just write. Write. I don't care if you just make up that you're, pretend that you're writing a letter. If you feel like you've got writer's block, sit down, write a letter to yourself or to your family or whatever, just to kind of start getting your brain and your fingers working together. And then start writing down ideas of what you want to be telling people that you have experience in, whether it's, gardening, canning, a knitting book, patterns, whatever it is that you want to share with people. Just start writing it, because
you never know who may be interested.
Yeah, you don't know, and there might be somebody who is looking for that information.
What are you looking at me for? I'm afraid to ask.
I have chicken questions.
Oh, well, go ahead. Ask you. I'm afraid it's going to be something else that we don't want to talk about here.
So
It's a family show.
I'm just sitting back.
Okay, go ahead and ask your chicken questions.
So if you've got roughly 60 chickens, I'm going to assume most of those are actual chickens and they lay eggs. So that's a lot of eggs. And
you would think.
So do you market those to friends and neighbors and grocery stores, or do you certainly don't eat them all?
No. Well, it seems like right now we do. But I have some grandkids here, and they're eating a lot of eggs. So,
do you raise meat birds too?
We don't actually. We really don't have the room set up for them, but we keep talking about it. But having 60 chickens, I guess I have maybe 40, 45 hens, and depending on whether they're broody or molting or old, they're not all laying at the same time.
Okay.
Normally, I get a couple dozen eggs a day, and we do sell to neighbors and friends. But I don't sell to stores or market them off the farm. Okay. It's just pretty much a laid back kind of, oh, you need eggs? Here you go.
Well, when we went to Virginia, like Daryl said, that we shared the house with Duncan 1900 Homestead here, Brenda and Paul, and I know that she has chickens, and I don't even know if Mark does, if Red Duchess, they probably do, but Brenda brought some because they were going to make breakfast in the morning, and with us volunteering, we were out of the house by 6 a.m. So there was three dozen left. Man, I brought them puppies home.
Right.
I don't get fresh eggs around here. Those puppies are coming home, and I told her, I said, I will remind you in March, you need to bring some to Mississippi.
Right.
Well, the other thing that's really strange, in our area, all summer here, eggs in the grocery store have been somewhere between 45 cents and 65 cents a dozen.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's really low.
Yeah. Yeah, milk. Milk's been 98 cents a gallon.
Yeah, under $1 a gallon for milk. For $1.50, you get a dozen eggs and a gallon of milk.
Wow.
Mark's in the chat. Yes, we have chickens. Isn't that supposed to be, yes, we have bananas?
Yes, we have bananas.
Yes, we have no
bananas. No bananas. See there?
Yeah. No eggs go to waste, I can tell you that. I have quite a list of people who are always waiting, but there's just some regulars that I try to hit first because they get them all the time. So, you know, and then of course our family goes first, so whichever, and then our grown children live nearby, so they come by and get eggs. So, you know, there's no waste. And if I do actually accidentally miss a carton somewhere along the line, I'll just hard boil them and feed them back to the chickens. So nothing goes to waste.
So before we move on to other animals, because I'm sure you have a few.
Just a couple?
Just a couple.
Yeah, just a little.
But with your chickens, do you what about predators and stuff? I mean, how do you handle the predator issue for such a defenseless animal? I'm going to say defenseless. What do I know?
No, they are pretty much an at-risk bottom of the food chain animal on the farm, and a lot of people will just free range anyway and just take their chances. And when I was a store owner, that was kind of a benefit, because I knew those people would be back next year for more chickens, because they would all be gone, you know, by either a fox or a raccoon or a hawk. And that's just in our area. You know, the neighbor's dog, that's, you know, they just, if you don't keep them somewhat contained, you're going to lose the majority of your flock from year to year. We keep ours in big fenced runs with a coop in the middle of the run. So they can, you know, they have safety at night. They go into the coop and get closed in. And then during the day, if they're not actually out free ranging, like when we're there, then they're inside the fenced area where they can dig and scratch and move around.
So you don't get into the chicken tractors where you go out and pull them around the yard every day?
I don't, because we don't have that kind of property. We don't have a lot of flat pasture and you know, places that we would be able to do that. But I mean, that's a great way to keep them safe during the day. I think it's a little harder to keep them safe at night, because you have to weigh down or pin down the tractor so that something bigger doesn't come along and tip it over and get to them that way. You know, you can do a lot of different things. You can put, you know, hardware cloth wire on the bottom so that they can't get underneath and up into the tractor. The wire, pretty much, if you're going to make like as secure an environment as you can, you're going to need a lot of what we call rat wire or hardware cloth, which is the quarter inch is probably your best bet for preventing things like rodents and snakes and stuff like that getting into the coop. Chicken wire will keep your chickens where you want them, but it's not going to keep anything else out.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are things to look for. Covering your run in some way will keep the hawks from, you know, swooping in and grabbing a bird. And there's so much you can do, but I also tell people, like, you know, you can go great lengths and you can still have an attack of something. So, you know, your chickens are never going to be 100% safe unless you keep them like in a cinder block garage, you know, which is not a healthy environment for them. So you have to make that call somewhere between, you know, keeping them safe and letting them be chickens. And you know, that's what I think anyway. So
Country Girl here said a little bit I knew she posted something that Andy is loving his chicken book that you autographed for her.
Good. I remember you.
Yep. Andy and his blue hair.
He didn't have blue hair then.
Yeah, that day he had blue. His hair was blue and red. That was Saturday, wasn't it?
Did he?
Yeah.
He had a hat on.
Yes, he had.
Yes.
He had his hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad he's liking the book. Thank you.
Yeah, Country Girl agreed. Yep, his hair was already dyed. Oh, we had so much fun doing that. I didn't do it. I just stayed at the computer. We did it live stream at the house, and Andy and Dawn came over to the house, and her and Brenda had a hand in that. I'm innocent. I tell you, I'm innocent. Listen to that laugh. I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what was what was the first animal that you raised? You and I had this discussion a little bit earlier, so I'm aware of this, but I think it'd be interesting to share that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, a lot of people think because I kind of got my start in writing, concerning livestock and, chickens and ducks in particular is what I first started writing about, and canning and other homestead type pursuits. They think that that's where we started, but actually we were pretty much just a suburban family raising our kids here in the Chesapeake Bay area of Maryland. And the first animals we brought home to our property were horses. Our daughter was a competitive rider, and she had her own horse, and we had a couple ponies for her brothers, and it kind of, that was our start. And then, after quite a few years of having the horses, we brought home some goats that somebody we met had. And, how goats will take over your heart because they're so cute. And one of our goats was a bottle baby. And so, then I just wanted all the things goat.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted all goats. And so kind of grew from there. I guess goats. And then I did the most horrible thing. I tell everybody not to do this. I brought home chicks from the store, and we had nowhere to put them. And so I'm the worst example. I said, I always tell people, like, get everything ready before you get chickens, know where they're going to stay, have a brooder, have everything set up for them, have a warm place that they're going to be under a, heat lamp situation. And I just went out and brought home 2 chicks, and the next day I went back and got 10 more because I thought really you need to have a dozen, because I thought, well, I'll have a dozen eggs then, which is what you want, right? Like, you just want to get a dozen eggs. So, but they don't all lay every day, so that never really happened. So then we had all these chicks in the house, and we were like, I guess we need to think about a coop. And so we moved a garden shed and turned it into a chicken coop, and that was the humble beginnings.
Well, I think didn't Dana have a chicken? Was it like 2 years ago that was raised in the house for a while?
Well,
like 3 to 6 months?
She had one that the mother bird was killed or something, that she raised with an eyedropper or something.
It was in the house. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. They will start eating pretty quickly on their own, but it's a commitment. If you're just going to have one chicken, that chicken is definitely going to be your friend.
I think we need to give away one of these books.
There's one more a question I'm going to City Girl Country Heart Terry, what is your favorite animal to raise?
Right now, I think my answer would be between the chickens and the sheep. I'm not sure I could pick between those two. I mean, we have fiber goats, and we have wool sheep, and lots of chickens and ducks. I think I would always want to have the sheep and some chickens.
I've never had either.
So much for that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna talk more about animals here, but
okay.
Let's go ahead and get this thing because of the time here.
Any particular book you want to give away first, Janet?
Nope, you guys decide.
Well, Margarita's first is at the top of the pile.
At the top of the stack,
so
okay.
We'll do Margarita and the Beautiful Gifts. It's a little girl's book, and my 9-year-old granddaughter loved it.
Oh, good.
Yes. And was like, is that mine? No. So you have to read it before it's given away.
Aw.
All right.
So this is up for grabs.
All right, here we go.
Well, hi folks, it's trivia time again, and we have to have some rules for this, so they are as follows. Number 1, you can only win once every 4 weeks. Number 2, you must be the first person to answer the question correctly in the chat window as it appears embedded on the screen here. Your chat window may have a different order. And number 3, you have to send an email to twofamilyhomestead@gmail.com. Send us your mailing
funny,
address
I can't
so
see
we
it,
know
so
where
I'm
to
just
send your
sitting here.
winnings.
I can see the bottom.
Good luck.
Okay.
But I don't know which question you asked them.
Oh, we haven't asked it yet.
Haven't asked it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They're just excited.
we just had Smudge explain the rules.
Oh, okay.
And for those of you that are new here, we do usually a couple of, and tonight's going to be 3 trivias.
Yeah,
And
there's not going to be any money being sent out. We're doing books tonight.
yeah, the official order of the chat is what you see on your screen.
Right.
So that'll be
Yeah, so what you see on your screen may not necessarily be what is on ours
right.
because of the lag and everything.
Okay, so here's question number 1. Name one species of poultry Janet does not have on the farm.
Now we get to Jeopardy too.
Yes.
Oh, we should have Jeopardy too. Citystead.
Yep.
Citystead got it. Turkey. That was one of the ones that she does not have.
All right.
It was turkey, quail, or guinea. So Citystead, you email us twofamilyhomestead@gmail.com. Give us your name and address, and we'll get this book sent out before the week's over.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yep. Yeah, that's the and on even on my screen, Dawn, you were like number 6 down. So it's just so strange how everyone's is different. So I do understand that. So, anyone have any questions? Oh, Christy has to bring the dig in, her dog in.
Oh. Please bring him in.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think what people ask me a lot. A lot of times people ask me like what kind of breeds they should get if they want to get eggs, which is a good question if you're new to chickens. There are breeds of chickens that are better at laying eggs than others, and there are some breeds that are good at both being a meat chicken and an egg layer, so you can kind of stagger. Those are particularly good breeds for homesteading because you can get a good meat bird from the roosters, and you can keep the hens as long as they're laying. A lot of people, will keep them 2 or 3 years, and then as they start to not lay so much, they'll use them for a stewing chicken. I feel like my chickens are pretty spoiled in that regard because we have a lot of resources around here as far as good quality farm meat, so we can just buy our chickens, for our table. Yep. And so my old chickens just get to live and just be the granny chickens.
Cool. Cool.
But I'm not against the fact that they could be meat. That doesn't enter into my thinking. I think the purpose of livestock is to provide for us, and you can give them a great life in the meantime, and then when you need them for meat, that's their purpose then. We always kind of say they only get one bad moment.
We have a question. Darlene Powell's asking, how many sheep do you have?
We have 8 sheep, Darlene. We have 5 of the Finn breed, which is an old landrace breed. It's a medium staple length wool, and it's really soft. So our yarn is pretty popular for things that people are wearing next to their skin, or for scarves and hats, and things like that. We have a Rambouillet ewe. She's a big girl. Her fleece is pretty dense. It's a nice dark brown, but we haven't gotten a good yarn from it yet, but I have someone spinning it right now, trying to spin it for me because I haven't been successful at spinning it. So we'll see. We might be able to have some yarn from Brittany soon. We have a little baby doll South Down called Ike, and he's really small. He's just a cute little guy. And then we have a border Leicester, our oldest sheep on the farm. His name is Millie, and she's been around for, I guess, 8 years down here, maybe a little longer. And so she's kind of the grandma in that group. But we don't breed. She actually did have one pregnancy, but it didn't end with a lamb. So we don't try to breed here. I usually buy stock from other people that either the Weathers or we don't breed. We used to breed goats, but we don't breed anything anymore.
Terry is asking if you're going to be writing any more books.
I have another book coming out in February on raising sheep and other fiber animals and what to do with your with all that wool and fiber that you get from the animals. So that's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to that one because I think it's a book that really needed to come out because a lot of people, especially if they're raising sheep for meat, they don't realize that they may be tossing away a good side benefit with the wool and what to do with it. So it goes through everything from shearing and skirting the wool, getting it ready to spin, and then different ways that you can use the wool and the yarn. That was a fun book to write because we also included a lot of interviews with small farm shepherds across the country. Cool. So I got to talk to a lot of different type of farmers and shepherds, and I learned a lot as I was doing that. I also talked to a lot of teachers and craftspeople, people that are out there teaching classes on using wool for different things. I got to visit a lot of festivals, and it was fun. So that's the next book that's coming out, and then I'm not sure. We'll see what happens after that.
Well, Bandana Grandma has a question. She wants to make some small felted woodland animals out of wool to decorate the new grandson's nursery. What kind of yarn do you suggest? Balls to pick with needles and make into cute animals.
Okay. So you want to knit them and then felt them? Or does she just want a needle felt?
Well, wait to see what she says.
Yeah. I wasn't quite sure I understood exactly where she was going.
And Darlene just said that you are very interesting. I totally agree.
Oh, thank you, Darlene. Darlene's been a big supporter on my page. It's been very encouraging to me.
Susie says no, ball it up and needle felt.
Okay, balling up the yarn and needle felting. You would probably want something that's fairly dense and stiff, as opposed to like a baby fine yarn would be harder. Definitely you want to use all wool. I would even stay away from the superwash coating on the yarn because that's going to keep it from felting. It's a coating that's put on the yarn so that it can be washed. The other thing you might try is just, core fiber that you can buy. It's like a coarser wool roving, and then that felts pretty easily too. But feel free to contact me if you have any questions on the needle felting because there's so many different ways you can approach that.
I think we're caught up with questions. Anything else you want to bring up and start, Daryl?
Well, and I missed it a little bit while I was working on the control thing here. Do you have beef cattle, dairy cattle, goat? Obviously, I think you have goats. You have sheep.
Yeah.
Just kind of run down through your list of livestock.
We did raise some cattle. We had 5 beef cows, Black Angus. We raised them, and it was really interesting to try to do that on a small property because, like I told you earlier today, like we have a big tract of land, but it's only a small part is the homestead. And so we raised these 5 cows on a pretty small amount of land. And we learned a lot. They did well. The land needed to heal afterwards, so there's a lot of things that we would do differently, but the beef was excellent. We still say, you know, no beef compared to the beef from those cows we raised. Although we do have a really good farm that we're buying beef from right now, so I won't, you know, I will say there are some really good farms out there raising beef. But I think it's just the fact that it was ours, so I think that was part of it. But after we raised those 5 and they went off to the butchers and we went through the meat, we started raising pigs. My son wanted to try raising pigs, so he's been doing that for the past 5 or 6 years. So they're kind of in the space where the cattle were. So right now we just have pork, and nothing wrong with raising your own bacon. And we have goats, but they're fiber goats. They're not meat goats. They don't put on a lot of meat. They don't put on a lot of weight. They're kind of a thinner goat, but they produce fiber every year, just like sheep. But it's not wool. It's called fiber, and it's mohair from goats. So,
Ooh, cool.
You know, so we mix that in with some of our wool and make a wool, you know, a mohair wool blend, or just process it by itself. It's really soft.
I bet if it's mohair.
Yeah. So the breed of goats we're raising is called Pygora, and they're actually, the breed was created from Angora goats and pygmy goats. But it's not just crossbreed. They actually created a new breed, and so they did the whole F1 generation thing and kept going until they got the
Well, I can remember my mother used to have an Angora sweater. Oh my gosh, that thing was so soft.
Yeah, and it's a really durable fiber too,
Yeah.
for how soft it is.
She
So
would-
you know,
she
those
would never-
things last forever.
I
It's
was never allowed
a
to
great
wear
fiber to raise.
Terry's asking if you could start over knowing what you know now, what would you do different?
I probably would have skipped some of my earlier jobs, but you know, when you're first out of school, you have a little bit of stars in your eyes, and you think you're gonna take on the world, and
Yep, conquer it all.
yep.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
you know, I think looking back, it would be nice to just have skipped all of that, you know, working in the city type stuff, and just
Gotten to the meat of it.
gotten to what we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's been definitely the most rewarding
Cool.
time, I think. And we've been doing this for 25 years. So, kind of, you know, it started, like I said, it started with the horses, but then kind of kept growing from there. And I think we make a really good use of the space we have. So, you know, we have a lot going on, and, you know, a small barnyard. And, you know, that's a challenge in itself, because you have to keep everything clean, and you have to have a place for all the manure, and, you know, you have to store hay, and you have to think ahead about a lot of things. And
Cool. Rosalie is asking, what is a good size acreage to consider for buying to start a homestead?
you know, I think that's a funny question for me, Rosalie, only because you can do a lot with whatever you have. So, you know, there's a lot of people that are homesteading in a small neighborhood, you know, yard that isn't even a quarter acre. They're still growing vegetables, growing herbs, making their own food, you know, cooking from scratch. If you want to raise animals, I would say, you know, look for at least 5 acres, and that is still going to limit you to a certain extent. 10 acres, you're going to have a little bit more possibility of some pasture areas, some paddocks with, you know, that you can rotate your animals around. So that's the other thing. you don't want to keep your animals like in the same area all the time. So it's healthier for them parasite wise, and healthier for the ground if you can rotate them between 3 or 4 fields. And so I would say, you know, if you're looking to get into raising some cattle for your family or some sheep, you know, you might want to go for a little bit higher, you know, towards the 10-acre parcels.
Well, would you share with the folks here a little bit about the property that you have? Obviously, I guess it's been in the family for some time, and its real purpose is not really a farm as people would think of a farm.
No, it really isn't. Sure. We, my husband and I are the 3rd generation in the family to run the family sawmill business, and our property is actually a tree farm. It's a hardwood tree farm, so it has to be harvested according to the forestry program from DNR every so many years. And that keeps the trees healthy, keeps the risk of fires down. So we have a lot of acreage surrounding the barnyard, but it's not something that we can really clear out. And you know,
So,
the sheep go wandering around up in the woods. They're perfectly fine up there. They find their little grazing spots and hang out in the shade.
so you practice what they don't in California.
They do what?
I say you practice what they don't in California about the fires.
Yeah. That's a sad situation, and
That's,
yeah.
Well, it's
that's
terrible.
bad government.
Well, yeah, I
But-
mean, I have heard stories that they have acres and acres of dead wood that nobody is allowed to touch.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But
just
they-
laying
but
there
they-
as fuel.
But they have the funds to do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. There's a lot of unfortunate
Mhm.
circumstances behind what
Yeah.
is happening out there right now, and to be honest, I don't know enough about California
Yeah.
and their particular circumstance, although of course it's heartbreaking. I do know just the little bit I do know about forestry management, which really isn't a lot, but just having lived it and knowing what my husband has to do to stay compliant, you have to harvest and clean up, and you can't just let it all be completely like natural, because lightning will then strike and you will end up with a
Yeah.
tragic situation.
Yeah.
And this is not news. This is not something that, you know,
Right.
I'm dreaming up or saying. This is the way, this is why there are forestry programs, and why there's,
Yeah.
you know,
And if
you,
and it could
you know,
happen
people who
again,
say don't cut the
unfortunately.
trees because, you know, we need the trees. Well, if we don't cut down the big trees, the little trees aren't going to grow.
Mhm.
And then eventually those big old trees are going to just fall down and die. So
Yeah.
you've got to manage it in order to have a healthy ecosystem there.
Farm on Quail Hollow is asking, what is your favorite farm chore?
Is coffee a farm chore? I have to laugh because Kaylee knows me pretty well. We've hung out a couple times. Okay, farm chore. You know, I don't mind any of the farm chores. I hate mud. So I think really the only thing that stops me from doing anything is when we have days and days of rain and I have to slog through deep mud to get anything done. I don't mind cleaning out coops. I don't mind cleaning out stalls. You know, I have to say I'm kind of spoiled. My husband does a lot of the stalls too, so I have to give him credit for that. And we all kind of just do what has to be done, and none of it bothers me. I don't like flies, so I'm pretty particular about cleaning up the coops because flies are really annoying.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, as far as chores right now, biggest chore is dealing with mud. So
I understand that. Michigan Mike is asking if you dehydrate and do you do eggs?
I have never dehydrated eggs, Mike. I do like to dehydrate. I dehydrate a lot of herbs and make a lot of different herb mixtures for our chickens and rabbits for the winter to keep them healthy. I grow a pretty big herb garden, so I really believe in the healing power of herbs and making herbal remedies. So yeah, dehydrating herbs especially is a big part of my storage. As far as like other vegetables, some of them I've been more successful with than others. I haven't been that, if you're going to use them in something that's long cooking like a soup or a stew, the vegetables seem to be better to my opinion. But if you're going to just heat them up and eat, rehydrate them, heat them up and eat them, I haven't been that excited about the flavor from dehydrating, but it could just be me. I'm a little picky. So did I answer his question? I guess I did.
I think you did.
I think so.
Yeah.
Now, something else
I didn't even see Rose come in here. Rose has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, she jumped in. Go ahead and get Rose's question.
Okay. Wholesome Roots, Rose. Janet, what is your favorite natural dye to do on sheep or alpaca wool?
Okay. That's a good question, Rose. I love so many of the natural dyes. I think I'm really intrigued by madder root dye because you can get, I've seen people do like 50 different colors from madder root, depending on the way you modify it or mix it with some other substances after you create the dye. So I'm really intrigued, and I'm hoping I can take a class on that this year. It's offered sometimes at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, and I'm hoping I can get into that if it's offered this year. The other thing that I'm really intrigued about is indigo. We did an indigo vat at the conference this year, and I've only done it a few times. I guess like maybe 3 times that I've been involved in doing an indigo vat in a classroom situation. I'd really like to do it myself. I grew a lot of indigo this year, but indigo has to be fermented in order to use it. So it's a big process. So I did a cold ice water bath indigo, which was kind of an interesting shade of green instead of blue. So I guess those two are the ones that are intriguing me the most right now, and I'm really trying to figure out what's going on and what I want to work with those 2 colors. But you know me, Rose, you've been to my demonstrations at Homesteaders of America, and you know there's so many neat dyes you can get from plants that it's just my passion.
Yeah, that's what she just said.
To play with those. I just recently did pomegranate extract, and I would have thought some sort of red or purple, and I got the most beautiful gray out of it.
Oh, that's surprising.
So yeah, it's always a surprise. I never know what's going to happen for sure.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Getting started on homesteading is asking, how many rabbits do you have?
We only have 2 retired does now. They're kind of like the older chickens, just hanging out. We're not doing rabbits right now. We just take care of our old girls. And I have 2 frou-frou house rabbits that are a lion head lop. And they're just for fun. They're here in the house. They live in the kitchen.
Oh, cool.
And they just are totally, they're just, I don't know why I have them, but they're cute.
Susie's asking, have you heard of a plant called woad, W-O-A-D or W-O-D, that was used in colonial times?
I think it's woad, and it makes
woad.
a blue similar to indigo.
Oh, cool.
I tried growing it this year, and I didn't have a whole lot of success. I didn't get enough to work with, but hopefully next year we'll have a better year for that. I did have a really good year for, and I'm not even sure if I'm saying this right, elecampane is a big, huge leaf plant that grew really well for me this year, and you use the roots. I just harvested the roots, and I'm looking into what I have to do as far as making it into a powder. So right now the roots are being dehydrated, and it'll be a powder, and that will also make a blue.
Cool.
We'll see, because it's also kind of a temperamental one from what I've been reading in some of the old dye books. Like we're talking about, going back to colonial days. Some of these things aren't very common, so you got to dig back a ways.
No, Big Bear, that wasn't how Dawn colored Andy's hair. Well, it's time to do, because we're running short here, it's time to do another trivia question, and the top of my pile is chickens from scratch. So that'll be the next giveaway book.
All right, here we go.
Well, hi folks, it's trivia time again, and we have to have some rules for this, so they are as follows. Number 1, you can only win once every 4 weeks. Number 2, you must be the first person to answer the question correctly in the chat window as it appears embedded on the screen here. Your chat window may have a different order. And number 3, you have to send an email to twofamilyhomestead@gmail.com. Send us your mailing address so we know where to send your winnings. Good luck.
Okay. So if everybody's ready, and I can tell you that it's not a number.
Nor is it cheesecake.
It is not, and it is not possum.
Okay, let's go on with the question.
Are we ready? Here we go.
Yep.
What kind of fiber animal does Janet care for the least? What kind of fiber animal does Janet care for the least?
I like the answer grapes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bandana.
Yep. That was the first one I saw.
Yep. Susie, you got it.
Possum. Now there's one I haven't tried. I
Well,
wonder
that's
what
okay.
color possum would die.
Oh, Lordy. Ugh.
That's great.
Well, some of the answers are just riot.
Yes.
Let's see. I
Fun.
know we had some. I saw some caps up there. Have you ever saved nettle stalks for fiber?
Yes. Actually, not stinging nettle. Although I have used some stinging nettle, but do you know what purple dead nettle is? It's in the nettle family, and it's got a purpley flower that blooms in the spring. And our yard is full of it. And I just harvested it because I had read that you could use any nettle, and I'm like, well, I have a yard full of this purple dead nettle, so I'm going to put it in a pot and see what I get. And I got a really nice golden color, so I added a teaspoon of iron, and iron will change the pH, and it's called sadden the color. It'll darken it, and it made a beautiful green. So yeah, nettle is good. Definitely.
Susie said purple dead nettle grows crazy around where she is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Save it for me, Susie.
Rosalie, Dana Sullivan
Mm-hmm.
has already asked me to save the hair from the dogs.
Oh
when
yeah.
I brush them
Yeah,
out.
a lot of people spin their dog hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she wants their hair,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of it with 3 Great Pyrenees or 4.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have 4 Great Pyrenees. Well, Smudge's father is a Great Pyrenees, and his mother was a Saint Bernard. So
Okay.
he's the youngest and the biggest.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's taller than Daryl when he's up on his hind legs.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's going to start traveling with us, hopefully not too long. Darlene had a question. Oh, what garden do you have?
We just raise some vegetables for us, Darlene. We don't do a lot, and I will be the first to tell you that I fail at gardening every year. I keep trying. This has been going on my whole life. So, I'm persistent if nothing else. But I'm not a very knowledgeable gardener. I do the best I can. I ask a lot of questions from other people that are much better at it than I am. And every year I learn something else. This past year, I think it helped. We dug out one garden area and brought in all new soil and used a lot of our own manure, compost. And we did have a much better year as far as that was concerned, and had a lot less insects damaging our plants. But yeah, I always refer people to other people when they ask me garden questions. I'm like, oh, I don't want to steer you wrong, and I definitely don't want you to get my results. I'm really good at growing herbs. I will say that. My herb garden does really well. But
this past season was the worst we've had. I mean, we just had groundhogs, rabbits, whatever. We didn't have anything except peppers. Peppers out of the wazoo, but our beans, our tomatoes, cabbage, cauliflower, everything was gone. We had nothing.
It's frustrating. Last year I had a
onions did okay.
And
I had a late crop of green beans last year that were doing great, and I was just about to pick them, and the deer got every single one. They just reached over the fence and ate the whole 3 rows of beans. I don't know. And then we always say that the raccoons know when we're going to pick the corn, and the night before they have a party.
They have a party. Bring their friends.
They do. And it's like, I don't know how they know that you were just waiting one more day, but then that's when they invite the crowd.
And folks, we got the phone line is open if somebody would like to call in and ask Janet a question directly, or
Farm on Quail Hollow, do you grow herbs for your goats?
Yes, I use the herbs that we grow for everything. So, I'll mix them in everybody's food whenever I remember. None of the herbs I grow really have any like toxic level or problem, that you would have to worry about, when you give them or anything like that. So I just kind of, when I remember, add them in.
What kind of herbs do you give your chickens?
The chickens get oregano, thyme, lavender, rosemary, a lot of mint. Lemon balm is a big favorite. That's in the mint family. What else do we have out there? Well, this year I was glad we did get a really good amount of calendula, yarrow. All these they're just good for them. Parsley is really good, especially for your egg layers. Any of the aromatic herbs, like I already mentioned, like thyme and lavender and the mints, will also repel bugs and predators, rodents. And so, even just sprinkling them in the coop or around the coop will help.
Bandana's asking, how do you make your elderberry syrup?
Oh, that's a good one. I used the recipe from Amy Fuel's book, the Homestead. Wait a minute, hold on, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's right here. I keep it handy. Let me get back up on my stool here. That's going to be backwards, isn't it?
No.
There it is. Oh, The Homesteading Herbal Companion by Amy Fuel. You guys all know her.
And I have one of those to give away. Not sure when it's going to be, but I have one.
I've made other elderberry syrups and I've bought elderberry syrups, but this one in here is so good. And I take it once or twice a day. Pretty much all year, but definitely from fall through spring when germs are everywhere. Let's just basically say everywhere. Like, it's really germy out there right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a bottle here, and the grandgirls were over last weekend, 2 weekends ago. They came for dinner with Cassie and Anthony, the grandson.
Yep.
And Celia had a sore throat and a cough, so my elderberry syrup went home with them. Mm-hmm. So I have none.
Yeah, well, mix some more up. And I will say, people too, like last year, elderberry, once the flu became rampant and people were passing around lots of other viruses too, it was harder to get dried elderberry. Mm-hmm. People were running out of it. Suppliers were running out of it. So I would say, buy yourself 8 ounces now somewhere, Mountain Rose Herbs, or trying to think who else. There's other reputable herbal supply houses, and just have it, because the other stuff that's in the recipe, you will probably have honey, a little bit of sugar, some mm-hmm. ginger, it's pretty common stuff like that.
Yeah, I have never made it, so that might be something. I might have to try that.
Well, look it up in the book. It's right there.
Yeah, I just got mine in the mail the other day.
Good.
So, yeah, she sent mine, and she sent one for us to give away, so.
Good. It's a good book.
Figure out when we're going to do it.
And Stony Ridge Farmer, thank you very much
for that. Yes, thank you, Josh. Appreciate that. So, anybody want to call? You can talk to Janet.
It's your nickel.
Mama Gross, how are you? Nice to see you here.
So, Janet, do you have any future big plans for your place, or are you just kind of taking things a day at a time and seeing where things go, or?
Well, right now, since we've had everything for so long, Daryl, we're kind of we're in maintenance phase right now. We rebuilt the rabbit house this past summer and moved it. It kind of ended up being stuck in the middle of the barnyard because things grew around it. So we moved it so everything's kind of visible from one spot. And we've had to, do a lot of major refurbishing of some of the older chicken coops. And the barn right now is having some problems with all the water that we've had this year. Like, what is this? The rainiest year the East Coast has had.
Terrible. It's been like that here. It rained this morning, then it started snowing earlier.
Yeah. So, we've had some water damage in the barn. So we're working on just keeping up right now.
Well, it's 10:05.
Do our third giveaway.
Let's do our third giveaway before we start losing people going to bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know it's getting late, so we don't want to keep. Yes,
well,
Country
hi,
Girl,
folks.
it is.
It's trivia time again. And we have to have some rules for this.
I don't want Country Girl to dislike me, but I love snow.
Number 1, you can only win once every 4 weeks.
I have a good friend here in town that loves
Number 2, you must be the first person to answer the question correctly in the chat window as it appears
than mud or
embedded
just
on the
rain
screen here.
Or heat.
Your
Like the
chat
summer
window
heat
may have a different
is
order.
killer here with the humidity.
And number 3, you have to send an email to twofamilyhomestead@gmail.com. Send us your mailing address so we know where to send your winnings.
Yeah.
Good
I
luck.
just wish all this mud would freeze, Big Bear. That would be great.
Rosalie, as soon as we do this, I will ask her that question.
Okay. I don't know if you all heard Smudge that time, but he's already given his speech twice. It's real simple. You got to be the first person to answer the question correctly in the chat window as it appears embedded on the screen here. And your chat window most likely is in a different order. And that applies to virtually everybody out there.
And our last book is the 50 Do-It-Yourself Projects for Keeping Chickens.
Okay. Question number 3. This will be easy for some. Name one of Janet's favorite chicken breeds.
I don't think that's a chicken there, Brenda.
Turtle.
Here's Jim with his 42. You can always count on Jim Beer.
Yeah, I don't think the cow is a very good breed of chicken. Oh, the farm on Quail Hollow.
Farm on Quail Hollow. Gosh, I wonder how she knew that. There you go.
That was a great guess, Kaylee. I don't think she actually knew it. I think she just...
No, that was a good guess then.
Yeah, I think she's just observant.
Kaylee, how do you spell your name? That's our youngest granddaughter's name. Let's see. Rosalie Yoder, my son is interested in harvesting from the woods. What books would you recommend? Do you mean foraging, Rosalie? I'm assuming that you might, because Rose from Wholesome Roots, that is one awesome lady with foraging. She knows her stuff.
Yeah, I would say definitely get in touch with Rose or someone else that can be your mentor.
There you go. Okay.
There's so many lookalikes that you want to make sure that you have, have a good guide.
So,
two of the people that I follow are Colleen Kodakis, I think is how you say her name, from Grove. Hold on, I gotta turn around again. Grab her book. Okay. All right. This is a book I like. It's Herbal Infusions, but Colleen is also really knowledgeable. Where is this? Forager. I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Yeah, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. And her website is Grow, Forage, Cook, Ferment. So I would recommend that you follow her and look at some of her material. And the other person is on Nitty Gritty Mama, and she's also on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. So I would definitely say get in touch with those two for their recommendations. I have a friend locally who is a naturalist, so I actually walk the woods with him and have him show me, and I still get confused. I take notes and pictures and everything else, and but it's one of those things. The more you immerse yourself in foraging, the more it will start to become second nature, and you will recognize things that are edible, and you'll know the difference between something that is a look-alike. And you have to look at the leaves, the stems, the structure, how the leaves are on the stem. There's so many little things that you need to do to make sure that you're eating foods that are safe while you're out there.
There we go.
I'm still learning that, so I'm a long way from being somebody who should be telling anybody what to do.
Janet, I know your property is hardwood. You mentioned that, but is it primarily oak or maple or cherry or walnut?
It's a lot of poplar and oak would be the two main species. We have hickory. There's some beech, but the main wood is poplar.
Well, since you have hickory, I have to ask: have you ever made any syrup from the bark?
Yeah, we've definitely tried to make some of the syrups from the sap, both maple and hickory, and black walnut. So you can do that. I didn't particularly like it as much, but if I was living in a situation where that was the option for sweetener, I'm sure you get used to things, and it's good to know how to do them, even if it's not something you want to use right now.
Okay, so. and I guess I was under the impression, and I could be totally wrong because I've not done it, but that with the hickory, they actually use the bark. They're not actually tapping the sap in the tree.
Yeah, that man that was at Homesteaders of America, we bought some of his syrups, and they're good. And I used them for a glaze on salmon and chicken, and it's really good. But that was amazing to me, the way they're extracting. They're not actually tapping the tree. I hadn't heard of that process before, so I was pretty intrigued by that.
Yeah, we bought ours 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When they were at the first HOA. That's when we found out about it.
Yeah, they were nice people too.
Yes. Yeah, Mama Grow said that, she's sitting there right now knitting with your yarn.
Aww. Yay, thank you.
Well, Janet, be sure to share with everybody if they're interested. And I know Smudge has a link to your Etsy store, and I know you have a store on your web page, but and some of your books are available, if not all of them, through Amazon.
Yes.
So,
yes, they all are. There's also one other little ebook on building a rabbit habitat if you don't want your rabbits living on like in a typical rabbit tree. We built a setup where they could live on the ground. It's a little bit labor intensive at first, but it lasts a good while. That book is actually free through my website. So if you go to timbercreekfarmer.com, it's on the sidebar and it's a free PDF download. If you go to Amazon, you can still purchase it on Amazon, but it's free on my website. So
Timber Creek Farm or Timber Creek Farmer?
Farmer.
It's Farmer. There
Okay.
was another Timber Creek Farm before I got a hold of the name, so I had to be creative.
Just type in guestweb and Smudge will tell you.
Yes. And the Etsy store has more of the products right now, but all of the books are available on our website also.
It should.
And we just had some new yarn go up last night, so I just had some new listings. So if you're interested in yarn for making any of your holiday gifts, there's some new choices. And I guess that's about it. That's about what we're up to.
Well, it is 10:14. Probably should let her go so she can get some sleep, because I know they're on the same time frame we are.
More than likely.
Yep, Eastern
Yeah.
time.
Well, it was really fun to have so many familiar faces.
Good. I'm glad we had quite a few people show up. That was great.
Yeah, that was really nice. That was fun. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I've heard so much about your show. I can see why everybody loves it.
Like I said, I'm glad that we finally got you here. If anybody is interested in coming on and being in the hot seat on a Monday night, it doesn't matter if you have a huge channel or just starting out. We don't discriminate. We'll take you all.
Yeah.
And I will say it was painless. They made it easy, so just go ahead and jump in. The water's warm.
Yep. Yeah, it's just like talking to friends once you get started.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just try not to look at yourself. It makes it a lot easier.
It does that, or looking at screens. That's what Daryl said.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what Daryl said. Thank you, mods. I appreciate you all sticking with us and helping us out here with all the links. That was wonderful. Thank all the people coming with the questions. Just makes it great. So you all have a great evening. Tomorrow night, Daryl does his Filmora editing class.
Well, yeah, and tomorrow night's going to be a little bit of a special night. We're trying something different. I've had an individual send me a video to edit.
Country girl, you gotta listen to this one.
Yeah, and I expected, to get maybe 10 or 15 minutes worth of video to play with, but I have over an hour of video. So I don't know how this is going to work yet. I've already looked at it a little bit. It's a good thing I did.
Yep.
But so we'll try this. I think I'm going to call it "What Would You Do?"
Yeah, really.
So.
And next Monday's guest is Prepper Princess. So should be an interesting evening then also.
Fun.
So everyone have a great evening, a safe evening, especially with the weather out here in the Midwest here and the eastern border. So, and even out in Missouri and out that way.
We're closing up.
Yep, closing up. Everyone take care.
Thanks so much for being here. And don't forget your thumbs up. What else? Anything else?
That was it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.